Hello, this is Goku for the Sim1, and I'm back with a video response. This time it is to Geek Evolution's video entitled, Are Superheroes Too Big for Films? Now there's also a response, but yes. No. The answer to that question is actually no. They're not too big. The problem is that from what I see, the superheroes they try to put on screen are too big. That is my take. It's a business. It is 100% a business. And they weigh the characters and they figure out, okay, so this character is really, really marketable. We can make a lot of money. We can sell a lot of tickets. They'll probably bring in about over $500 million in total. So put him on film. And the problem with that is the characters that I think work best on TV are the ones that they put in movies. And, I mean, okay, the number one character I think that is written to be on television, I think the character who has the best possibility of making a really long and really complex and a really good TV show is Batman. He doesn't work infinitely better on movies. He actually works better on television. This is not an opinion. I mean, you're going to think this is an opinion, but this is an analysis of the character, knowing the character as well as I do. When I've gotten arguments with people telling me, look, he works good on movies. Okay, he's had some successful movies. He makes money. That's different. His villains are a much lower key. His villains aren't these big, gigantic spectacles. You can do everything you can do with Batman on television. There is nothing about Batman that screams $200 million, other than the fact that he makes nearly, that his newest movie made nearly $1 billion. He makes the money back. That's why he gets these over gigantic films. He's starting to make the uber bucks. And the point is that, here's how I know Batman works better on film, or on television. Is because he's a detective. Okay? Anybody who disagrees with me, there are 1 billion detective shows. They come out, they think they're cheaper by the dozen. There's one for everything you can imagine. Everything you can imagine, they've already done a detective show based on it. Other than superhero detective. That's the only field that I've never seen, and that's the field that they need to exploit. And I think Batman is the best to do this. He's well known. He could do absolutely brilliant on this. You can have it episodic, but you can also have it serialized. You can have a bigger arcing story where you're introducing characters slowly. The problem with the Batman live-action TV show, if they were to try this would fail epically, is to keep reusing the villains over and over again, very much like how they do in cartoons. That would never work. Luckily, the cartoons are actually growing and getting better, to where you're not seeing that in the comic, in the current cartoons. Both Young Justice and Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, don't do that. So I think that they're getting smarter, and I think they're understanding that that's not the way to go, because that's probably my biggest problem with the 90s cartoon of Batman, is that it was recycling the villains over and over again. But Batman does certainly work better on television, because he's the detective. It's very easy to do him. He's quite cheap to do, and his villains don't cost that much. Now, there are that would cost a lot, absolutely. But for the most part, most of them, you can do Joker for cheap. You can do Scarecrow for absolutely nothing, for pennies. You can do Riddler for practically nothing. You can do Catwoman for very little. And then you also have time to build the Bat family. You can actually have the Bat family in a more practical way, because you can start out with him being Batman. Not an origin story, but basically very early Batman. And then as time goes on, you can actually introduce these other characters, and you can actually get the Bat family. If it's like 7, 8 seasons, you can certainly end it with the Bat family. Batgirl, Robin, and Nightwing, and Batman. And Catwoman, if you go that route. So you can certainly end it that way. So there certainly is things you can do with Batman, and I think Batman does work infinitely better on television. And anybody who disagrees with this, please tell me why, because I don't see this. Okay, yes, they make movies and they do successfully. That's about it. If they were to ever try my idea, it would work. It would 100% work if they did it correctly. I did a very long video how I explain how they should do it if they did it. Now, obviously, yes, there's a lot of room for wiggle. There's a lot of room to get things in and change things. But, yes, so, Batman, absolutely. Get it done out there. If you don't do it, you're idiots. The next one is actually going to be the next biggest known superhero on movies. And guess what? It's not Superman. And I'll get to Superman in a minute here. Spider-Man. Spider-Man is, yes, Spider-Man works fine in movies if you want to do that. The problem is you can't really develop him. Spider-Man, I feel that needs more develop. He's a high school student, and I think you could do an absolutely brilliant show. Other than the fact that he's web-slinging through New York City, that would be a little difficult. It can be done, don't get me wrong. It can certainly be done on a TV show budget. It'd be a little costful. It'd have to be like a $5 million, if not more, TV show, certainly. $5 million per episode. It would be one of the more expensive TV shows, but I think because of his name, he could certainly garner enough success on television if done right. Certainly make it high school. Spider-Man's in high school. That works perfectly. And as time goes on, he actually gets out of high school, and you can tell him later. You can actually do Smallville Spider-Man edition. Now, and now the villains, Spider-Man villains, most of them are not that big. I mean, yeah, you have Doc Ock, that'd be a little costful, but he's a season finale villain, fine. Green Goblin, I think you could do Green Goblin for cheap. I don't know, but Shocker, Electro, Rhino, insert some others that I can't think of right now, can definitely do for cheap. Venom, not really. Venom would absolutely have to be a season finale villain. You wouldn't do him every season, certainly. I think you'd do him about the second or third season. I would say third season, really build him up. I would say second season, depending on how long you're going to make the show. I would say second or third season, make it completely black suit. That would be epic. And things like this. Like, you could do stuff like that and actually build the mythology and have these fun things. Yeah, you can definitely do Spider-Man on a TV show budget, and well. Now, let's talk about characters that do not work very good on television. Superman. Now you're going to say, but there's a 10-season TV show and there's like 8 billion Superman TV. Yes, and they fail. All of them fail. Fail to do what Superman does best. Superman is larger than life. He is the hero that can do things other heroes can't. He takes on the gigantic, monstrous villains. You don't see Superman's villains in any of his TV shows for a reason. They cost too damn much money to do them. You would see Spider-Man's and Batman's rogues gallery in a TV show. You're never going to see Superman's villains. I mean, also, they try to do it, later in seasons, they try to do it arc-based, and they used Doomsday. I don't know how many, I can't explain in any reasonable amount of time how many things are wrong with that concept. I'm sorry. They were morons. Okay, this is Goku 4-1. Please leave a comment or a video response. I would love to hear any ideas you have. Other characters you think. I just named 3 of them. Because, yes, I understand. And I would love to know what you think works and what you don't think works. And I'll see you next time. YouTube.